Welcome to DISCflex Report walkthrough for subfactors.
So the next section, this is going to be specific to DISCflex. So if you've used other discs, I don't know that any of them do specifically what we're doing here. And what we do is we measure each independent factor against one other factor at a time and understand the relationship between those two factors and what it means if you have a gap between them. So the easy way to show it is if you have a lot more dominance than you have friendliness, you would be pushed to this side, which to the dominant side, which would mean you'd be very efficient. If you were very friendly, a lot of influence, but not a lot of dominance, you're going to be friendly, but you're not going to be very efficient. We all live on each of these spectrums somewhere along them. And what the subfactor section does is goes in and identifies where your biggest gaps are to show you which ones are naturally you and which ones are things that you probably need to start working on to be able to use all 12 of these when they are relevant to a task or situation. So each factor, the first subfactor is always going to be the biggest gap between two factors. So if we look just at the scores right here, we'll see that 80 dominance versus one of these two, since they're the exact same score. So these two are interchangeable, but we've got a 37-point score gap between dominance and compliance. So we know that this person very much so enjoys their independence and will display independent type behaviors and being self-determined, objective, free, and so on and so forth. And cooperativeness is going to be something that is not necessarily going to come natural to Susan here. So these are things that we need to work on the opposing subfactor side. So because of that, we've got bullet points with things that you can actually do, whereas the driving subfactor that they naturally are just has adjectives to describe them. But be positive about what you can achieve with other people, be enthusiastic about working together, make sure everybody understands why you're cooperating, and so on and so forth. These are things that you can start to look in the mirror and think about, okay, where am I today? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be this person? This maps perfectly with our e-learning, which all of you have access to as well. So right now, if I'm coaching Susan, I know she already knows how to be independent, or as I like to call this factor, a permission taker, right? Now we're going to get her to be a permission asker on the cooperative side. Make sure she's talking to the right people when she needs to. We can go over here, go to the e-learning. Parts 4 through 7 are all subfactor related. So the next 3 pages that we're going over is parts 4 through 7. And any one person only needs 3 videos out of all 4 of these parts combined. And that would be how to dial up their opposing subfactor. So if I look, I see it is a cooperative factor. Cooperativeness is a compliance factor. Sorry, alliteration getting me here. So I'm going to go to compliance subfactors. And I will find cooperativeness, generic profile. What is it? This is just a simple definition. What are we talking about when we talk about compliance video? It's a 10-minute video. But cooperativeness, how to dial up now for my student, for my coachee, whoever I'm dealing with. I have a 16-minute and 45-second video I could show them. I don't recommend that personally. I say go right to the script, which has all of the words already there for you. They can highlight it. They can keep this forever, whereas they will never watch that video a second time. I promise you. We're not that entertaining. But so we generally send the scripts out to people, and boom, I've just generated this in 2 seconds for my student now. Also, I can come back here and how to dial up cooperativeness. Now they have the information on this sheet on the PDF. I could come over here and grab activities on how to actually now implement and become more cooperative. So I've got a communication activity I can click, or be positive activity. Each of these activities, you do not have to memorize as a coach how to use it, because once you grab it for somebody, you can quickly look at it and it has all the instructions, everything you need to know right there, ready to go. So we just suggest, hey, pull this up before you send it, look at it, see if it aligns with your style of teaching or makes sense to you. Fire away. If it doesn't make sense to you and you have questions before you fire away, that's where you send me an email. I'll get you comfortable with it, or I'll come up with some modifications you could do for your specific situation. And we can get that over there and really help people understand what it is that they're changing, not just say to them, hey, we want you to be more compliance driven. That doesn't mean a lot. But if I handed this to you and said, here's how you can become more cooperative within your organization, here's how you can communicate more effectively with the people you need to communicate at all times and make sure you're keeping everyone in the loop, they're going to say, okay, I can do that. So whichever one's larger, that's where that one's going to live, whether you're trying to dial up or dial down. And again, the 3 sub-factors we're going to get in this report are going to be the 3 that are the largest gaps or hardest to change for each person. So we're going to have D versus C. I can already tell you the next one's going to be D versus S because it's 43 as well. So then we'll see this person tends to be self-motivated, and that's a descriptor. And then on the opposing sub-factor side, something that we need to work on with Susan is patience. And with all of us who have dealt with DISC long enough, elevated dominance people, that one will pop up pretty much every time for their patience. Again, we've got efficiency and friendliness. So this person's going to be very efficient, not so much on the friendly side. So we're going to kind of coach them to be able to dial that up and bring that out. One piece on the PowerPoint I want to show you real quick. These are fluid, right? You're not only ever just efficient or ever just friendly. Myself, I'm a DI, but like both are within 6 points of each other. So for me, I can get caught up on either end of this spectrum, too efficient, too friendly, or I can be somewhere in between. So what we've done for each of the factors in the PowerPoint that you'll have is you'll be able to go in and look and see that, okay, it's a spectrum. And just because someone, let's say their biggest gap is 15 points between dominance and influence, it doesn't mean that they're always going to be efficient and never friendly. It's just, hey, I can get a good idea of who I'm dealing with here. So for instance, if somebody was a 20-point dominance over influence, they may be closer to direct and assertive. We define it as about a 40-point gap to really be stuck in efficiency over friendliness, or a 40-point gap in influence over dominance to be stuck in friendliness, where it's harder to flex and become the opposite. And then one thing that you will see too is if you get somebody who is a very friendly person, and we train and train and train efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. I need you to become this efficient person. We want them to dial that up and become some of these things and push upwards, but we don't want them to push so far that they focus so heavily on efficiency that they wind up just becoming rushed and getting tunnel vision. So there's descriptors past in each of these examples, descriptors past that can show you what are things that you can fall into the trap of.